So good afternoon. Thank you very much for tuning into this, our second iplicit webinar. Just so you know, we will be recording the session, so just so you're aware. My name is Max Findlay from Escon Solutions, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by Paul Sparks from iplicit, who since the last session has now been made Chief Product Officer. Good afternoon, Paul, and congratulations again.
Thanks, Max. Great to be back. Great to spend
Good.
some time again.
It's amazing how time passes. So on the last webinar in November, we looked at the signs that it might be time to review your legacy on-premise software and consider a move to the cloud. And during the session, we also discussed some of the pain points that come with on-premise software. In today's webinar, we'll be putting some meat on the bones of the last one, and Paul will let you see iplicit in action, in particularly around reporting, automation, and integration. However, given that it's only 30 minutes, we'll really only be tickling the surface, really. But hopefully it'll give you a taster for the power and ease of use that the application offers. We're happy, obviously, to go into a lot more detail with any of you on the call, maybe during a further session, and our contact details will be on the screen at the end of the webinar. Time allowing, we will also take some questions at the end, so please feel free to type any in as you go along, and we'll cover them as we can. If for any reason we have so many questions and we don't have time, then we can come back to you with answers afterwards. However, without further ado, I will pass over to Paul, who will drive for the rest of the session. But thank you in the meantime. Paul.
Thanks, Max, and thanks again to everybody for joining this afternoon. This afternoon we've got 30 minutes. Probably we're going to focus primarily around the software, about the powerful reporting available within the iplicit solution. I'm going to talk about how we can significantly improve the productivity and efficiency of the finance team with the use of automation. We'll also understand more about how you can seamlessly connect the iplicit solution to other systems and processes that you will use around your own organization. So that's what we're going to try and squeeze in during this time. So to kick things off, I'm just going to go in, and I'm just going to go into my browser. So for those of you who joined us last time, just as at a high level, iplicit is a true cloud system developed natively for the cloud. Much what you're going to see today is all about how easy it is to navigate around and to see the system and to get information in the format that you would like to see it. So to start things off, I'm just going to start off by talking about reporting. So in some recent surveys, the number one reason, and I'd probably say, Max, you could comment on this as well, that the primary driver for people changing systems over the last 10 years has all been around better reporting, access to the cloud, the ability to work with hybrid working now, and giving stakeholders across an organization easier access to data without having to always go to the finance team to get it. So, I mean, that sort of mimics the calls we have all the time, Max, isn't it?
Very, very much so. And, we find that customers are having shorter and shorter time to prepare their finance statements and reports after their month ends. So the ability to get that data out quickly and with the minimal human intervention and rekeying is key, I think.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into iplicit. I've logged into one of my systems, my demonstration systems already. And actually the first screen that I'm greeted with is one of my dashboards. I've got an age debtors dashboard. I like to see what's going on with my money and see what's happening. But I'll go through all of these different areas with you as we go through. So the first thing, I'm going to just talk a bit about the whole makeup of reporting. So what you have is the start of this process is if I go to analytics, I can go to inquiries. So the standard iplicit product comes with a whole suite of standard inquiries. And these are all marked with author, i.e. they're provided by iplicit, the author of the software. And you can copy these inquiries and you can tweak these to make them as you need, but just to sort of give you a flavour, if I was to just turn around here and say, I don't know, I'll start off with something simple like a trial balance. So I just do a TB now at this point. I can choose my legal entity that I want it for if I've got multiple legal entities, and I can quickly put that together. And then immediately I've got an inquiry on screen for my particular financial year. And then I can get a breakdown by the legal entity. And just to sort of show, if I didn't put a legal entity in here, let me just choose to do a couple here like so. Now what I can do is I can see by the legal entity again, if there's more than one, it will show them in this mix here as well. So that's one way of looking at an inquiry. To show a different example now, I'll just quickly do an age creditors and just do a quick age creditors on my system. So here in this example, I've got all the people who owe money. You can even turn around on these inquiries. I don't know, let's do it back at a point in time. So like so, if I now refresh this, this shows me as it was at this point in time. Again, with iplicit, I've got multiple legal entities, so I can see my age creditors by my Primus Company Limited, by the Primus Trading, and in each case you can then break that down and see more information. You want to see more about a particular supplier, you want to see their outstanding transactions. If you want to see more again, you can drill down and see the underlying transactions themselves. So that is an inquiry. So the whole principle is they are on-screen views that can be tweaked and tailored. You can add them to any of the menus. So for example, if I went to, let's just go to debt. And if I went to age debt, that's going to show me an inquiry of my age debtors straight from a menu. And you can decide which of your users within your system and across your organization can have access to these different inquiries. And if they have the right security access, they can even have features like clicking on Excel, and it will automatically give that user the option to do that. So I'll just come back to George's question in a second. So there's an output with any of these transactions. Yes, if I was to drill down on like an age debtors and look at this sales invoice, I could see any attachments. So again, I can see the any invoice or whatever, but actually let me do a better example, which was on the purchase side. So yes, on the purchase side, if there's any attachments that are in place, I can automatically drill down and I can see them. I don't know whether I set them up in this case, but they are always available from here. And in case, just to show you, if I wanted to add one in at this particular point, if it was missing for some reason, I could attach it. And again, immediately I can see that information on screen like so. So that sort of gives you a flavour as to sort of just using an inquiry. Now, some people don't want that kind of level of drill down. So what you can also do is that you can create reports. So again, if we just use that sort of trial balance scenario, so what I can do here, if I just do a simplified trial balance, and again choose the legal entity I want it for, and I can say which financial year I want this for. Like so, and if I just again select the right period, it says there we go. Yeah, so immediately again what I've got here for the financial year 22 to 23, it's in July 22 is the period. I've got an on-screen view of that information at any particular point quickly and easily. So these are more two-dimensionals, and to use again a different example, let's just have a quick look at an age creditors. So again, I can choose the criteria. I can do it as of a particular date. So again, if I change that date range, I can just run that particular report at any particular point. It's going to go through, process all of that, and immediately show me that breakdown like so. So that's a report. And again, any report has the ability to be output to Excel or into different formats as well. So we've seen an inquiry, we've seen a report, and again, you can distribute these to individuals so that they can run them. The next part of our journey is this dashboard journey. So within iplicit, you can create dashboards. Again, they're configurable. So let's just choose a different example here. I'm going to have a look at our expense claims. So again, I've got a dashboard for my expense claims. iplicit has its own inbuilt expense solution. So you can see what the claims have been, who's been making the claims. You can see all the scenarios. If you want to know more in particular, at any particular point, you can just turn around and say, yep, got Guy Burton. If I click on Guy, I can see when Guy's been making those claims and see more information again. So that's all from just looking at an inquiry within the system, sorry, a dashboard within the system, and each of these particular sort of tablets or sections or windows within that tablet, within that dashboard view, you can configure and show information as you wish. It can be grids, it can be all sorts of different things. So that sort of gives you a flavour of like how you can start from an inquiry that can, again, all of these can be distributed to individuals through to reports, etc. as well. Now, one of the constant pieces of feedback that we receive from our customers and colleagues and people that are working with systems in the finance team space is that there is absolutely no doubt that Excel is a trusted ally. And so what I thought I'd do is to show you a little bit about what you can do with iplicit. So it works with Office 365 and Excel. So what I'm able to do is I can turn around and I can firstly go to the add-in section and I can go to the Microsoft Store and I can search and I can download a free of charge iplicit add-in. So I can just go into here. This is the Microsoft Store. There it is. I can get this free add-in from the store. And then once that's done, on my my Excel home menu, I've got an iplicit button. And this does two different things. So the first thing, remember I was talking about these inquiries and we started in that area and how you could design it and limit the data to see what's available, then allocate it to different users so they can see just their information. Even though I'm in Excel, I can actually log into iplicit from within Excel and I can run any of those inquiries and choose the different scenarios, and I can then turn around and say, oh, create that as a table in this particular worksheet, please, within Excel. Then I can save that workbook and I can go back at any point and I can refresh it and it will always bring through the latest data. So that enables me to very, very easily build up report packs, for example, where I've got the latest data and I can see this very quickly and easily, and I can drill down and see what that's made up of, etc., etc. Okay, so that's one part of our Excel feature using inquiries. Another part is that we also have a set of add-ins that give you functions. So if any of you on the call have ever used Sun or Exchequer, then you might well be familiar with this concept. In fact, we often help people migrate from those products, and part of that is they can use their existing workbooks and change the formula very quickly. So if I go to function and if I was to go to iplicit, I can turn around here and I could say, oh, bring me through an amount for a particular legal entity, for a particular financial period, for a particular GL code, for a particular cost center, department, location, whatever it might be. So that brings through instantly live data from my software. So you can manipulate this. If you're doing a board pack, which is a common usage we see for it, people put in their commentary boxes and they end up sort of building packs that look a bit like this. And then each month they simply go in, change the period, up comes the latest data, refreshes through, people seeing what they want to see. This really does save huge amounts of time when people are trying to analyze and understand information quickly and easily. And again, you can use the skills that you have already within your organization to help make that happen. Okay. So that's kind of gives you a flavor around using some of the reporting. So just to recap, we started within iplicit and we looked at the analytics tab. We went to inquiries, and we had over 400 standard inquiries, and we were able to look at these inquiries. We can even put them onto our menus, so we could, we could go to purchases and run age creditors, and there's an on-screen inquiry immediately, and I can see information. We also talked about reports. So this was the next stage. These are these sort of more PDF style, two-dimensional style reports. And we looked at that on screen and we could see that information. And that's, again, for some people who don't want people to be able to drill down and see this. We then looked at dashboards and we looked at our Excel integration. Okay, so next I want to talk a bit about automation. So we can't go anywhere right now without hearing about AI and machine learning. But all of this is really about, is there an easy way to be able to make our teams more efficient? So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to go through and go to a feature within iplicit that's quite unique. So what we have within iplicit is something called automations. And so I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So the first one I'm going to take a look at is I'm going to go to show you our automations section. So from here, these are all particular tasks that you can set up within iplicit to be automated, and this is sort of the start. There's more added all the time with each release of iplicit, but examples are taking deposits and just doing the correct accounting for this, billing schedule. So if you invoice somebody every quarter, every month, or whatever it might be, it'll automate that process so you don't have to manually intervene. If you've got a deferred income, so you get an annual contract with somebody and you want to defer that revenue each month, it will do the movement between the balance sheet and the P&L and do that all automatically for you. Depreciation, if you're using our fixed assets, the same with prepayments. So you can set up these automations, and working in conjunction with that, you have what's called a scheduler. So our software can schedule certain key tasks. So you can say, I, for example, want to automatically send out all of my debt chase emails. So I can send out statements, reminder letters or emails automatically at time schedules within the system. Automatically send out my monthly recurring or quarterly recurring invoices. I'd like to create my accruals automatically on X working day of the month. So all of these can be configured within the system. So just to sort of give you an idea, I'm going to go to my search feature within iplicit and just do a quick search for, I've got a purchase invoice that somebody's querying. So they give me an invoice number for me to have a look at. Oh, that's right, AAA products. Let's have a quick look at that invoice. So immediately I can see who's the supplier. I can see their invoice number. I can see the description, but interestingly, I've got an extra tab when I look at the transaction, and also ticked on the line is the prepayment line. So it says that automatically our software is going to do a straight line prepayment from this date over 12 periods to this date. And if I look at the prepayment screen, it will show me all of the movements in detail of how that's going to work over the periods ahead. And to take that a step further, what you can also see is that linked to that original transaction, already there are 4 prepayment journals that have been created every single month to do the movements. And that's all being done automatically by our software. We set it up once, and then every month, at month end or whenever you decide, those automations will happen. And we believe passionately that this is the future of finance and systems, around how we can make those tasks that are repetitive much simpler and automated within the software. Another great example is the iplicit's own AP automation. I can set up that there are certain email addresses, let's say it's finance@escom.co.uk, and I can read that email address, and from there we've then got a set of registered journals. So these are all of all of the journals that have been created. It's not journals at all. I'll say that again. All of my purchase invoices that have come through by reading invoice. So it's scanning an inbox. If I go into that inbox, I can see I've got here, for example, I've got an invoice that's come in. The software has automatically read this purchase invoice from Britannia Innovations. It's coded it. It's added the lines of the transactions. And so we can simply turn around and say, yep, convert that to a purchase invoice and then send it off for the various approvals. Or you could make other changes, like you want to recode it because you've noticed the coding's not quite as you want it, or you want to allocate it to a different department, whatever it might be. You can do that from this point. But again, nobody's had to rekey this invoice. It's automatically read an inbox and brought that data through. So two really great examples there of automations. And my prediction and the thing I would share with you, I think that this is the biggest growth area in finance systems that you're going to see ahead. And it takes that sort of modern technology architecture to be able to support that. And that's where we'll see the big trend and change within our teams in the years ahead. The last area that I wanted to talk about today is to talk a little bit about integrations. So let me just quickly go back to here. So with iplicit, obviously no system can be an island of information. So to talk a bit about the different ways in which integration can work with a product like iplicit. So increasingly, the most common way in which people pass and integrate information between their various systems within their organization is by using something called open or public APIs. So iplicit has a public API, and it's that mechanism that is used to integrate a growing number of portfolio of products that can be integrated to a standard with the iplicit system. This enables you to do things like create transactions, create customers, update suppliers, bring information and pass them between software. The software also has a number of sort of out-of-the-box standard integrations for things like MTD to HMRC, like open banking with your bank, so that you can so you can basically just do an open banking and just send across, download a bank statement, automatically reconcile it, that sort of integration. There are also what's called some common iPaaS platforms. These are systems that kind of allow you to integrate to multiple systems through this one connector. And these can work often with things like CRM, e-commerce, but there are literally a library of thousands of transactions. Probably the most commonly known one is a product called Zapier. So again, that's quite an interesting one to explore. And then there's your traditional file imports and exports, where you can learn more about being able to get information, and you can send out information to other systems or import them back in. So just to sort of give you a couple of examples of these now in action. So the first thing I'll say is if you go to the help file within iplicit and get an API, what you're going to see here is a whole basis of technical information about how organizations can integrate to other systems. Now, I'm certainly not an engineer or a developer, so I'm not going to pretend, but when we're talking to other organizations who have those skills in-house, or we're working with the providers of other software for our customers, this is exactly what a modern systems developer is wanting to see. All of the details of how to exchange information quickly and easily in a robust and secure fashion. So that's sort of part one. The other thing I thought I'd do is very quickly to mention, if you go to the iplicit website, there's a section all around integrations, and you can see here are some of the sort of commonly used integrations available today with iplicit as well. Just to then go into iplicit a moment, I'm just going to just log back in here because it's timed out. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to go to firstly to bank, And what I've got is this feature called bank feed. So I'll just show you how that's set up. This is one of these standard integrations. So if I say I want to connect my bank, and I want to connect it to, I don't know, let's say I've got Lloyd's. So these are the different types of Lloyd's accounts that it might be. I can select that. It will now connect it to that bank. And once that's done, I can then do the following. So what I can do here is if I now go to bank reconciliation, and when I go in, what it will automatically do is it will download our bank statements. So on the left is the download bank statement, and on the right is the actual cash book within iplicit. I can see a summary to date of what we've previously reconciled, what we're in the midst of reconciling now, where that leads us with our closing balances. But you'll notice that a number of these entries have got light bulbs beside them. This is iplicit automatically finding a match using AI and machine learning between the two areas. So I can say here, based upon the rules that we've set, that, for example, there is a link between this payment for Aberdare or whatever it is, Bax, and I can see there's a common link between the description of the transaction, the values are the same, and the dates within a couple of dates. So there's a higher probability these are a match. So basically, you can even add your own rules by using this create rule option. And effectively, you can then say match all of the things that match away, and then leave me with a set of exceptions. And with those exceptions, what I'm going to do is just go through to them, and I can add any of those missing transactions directly from here. So that's, again, an example of a live integration through to the system, bringing through data accordingly. Okay, so just to recap, we've started by looking at reporting today. That was our key area. We've talked about how automations are changing the shape. I've got a question I'm going to come back to on that in a moment. And the wide range of integrations about standard, about API, about standard integrations of the products available there. The iPaaS platforms like Zapier integrating to HubSpot, Salesforce, Shopify, all of those type of scenarios. And also those sort of standard integration like bank integrations that I've shown there. Max, I think we've got a few questions. I think I might have picked a couple off as we go on.
Yeah, Joy just added another one. I think, looking back at the AP automation, Paul, Joy was asking, does this work from a scan or possibly dropping into an inbox of the system?
Yeah, if you get a scan, you simply forward it to the designated mailbox that you've set up. So you can just send that scan to finance@escon.co.uk, and it will read it and do the same coding in exactly the same way.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Simon, I know you put another quick question on about the drill down. I'm hoping that was answered as part of the presentation. I'm not sure if you can get off mute or not, but if you could just let us know in the chat if that answered your question. If not, we'll come back to it. Robert also asked, I need to know regards VAT submissions and payroll processing and submissions. We could cover this afterwards, but we've probably got a wee bit of time just to cover that off, if that's okay, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, in essence, the software is fully making tax digital compliant. It has links through to HMRC. A couple of quite nice things around the way that iplicit works. Firstly, and I know that there's a real mix of types of organizations on this webinar today. So it's worth first mentioning that iplicit can have, if you've got multiple legal entities, you can have a VAT group that covers multiple legal entities. So you can have more than one company, or if it's a charity, a trust and a trading, all within the same VAT group. If you are a non-profit, there is a partial VAT support, and it does things like working out the whole, when you do partial, you can decide what's applicable for recoverability in which areas and how much you can recover. So that's all part of that. But then once that's all set up and you've set up your tax groups, then you've got your VAT returns. Very, very simple. You've got your VAT returns. It works out all of the boxes that you might possibly need. You can get breakdowns, you can look at exceptions, and once you're happy at any point, you can submit it. It goes off to MTD via the HMRC portal and marks it all as read, and it's all done. The question with payroll, iplicit doesn't have a payroll because we work across so many different sectors. We work with sort of leading payrolls based upon your particular market that you work within.
Thanks, Paul. And just on that, obviously going back to the third point discussed this afternoon, integration. We're able to integrate with that payroll and HR system to pull in the payroll journals either using APIs or via just flat files. So hopefully that's answered your question, Robert. If it hasn't, just let us know. And just to finish off, or just maybe wait for any other questions to come in. One that came in earlier, Paul, was around the option for storing historical information from the legacy system.
Yeah,
and I'm sure many of the those on the call could well face commercial implications if they wanted to retain access to historical data. If if they were to move off, could you maybe just explain where iplicit could help with that, Paul, if that's okay?
Yeah, it was a problem that we saw emerging over the last 3 years, which is quite interesting. It seems that it's now a primary profit center for some of these legacy software providers, Max. So it's a way of continuing to get revenue even when they're not in that position. To be able to carry on as being the sort of new primary software. So we have developed a additional feature with iplicit called archive data. Archive data allows us to import data from your old system in the current format for that old system. And you can basically see, for example, I could look at the general ledger from my old system. Have I got one set up in here? Oh, in here would be the best place to do it. Sorry about that. So here I can see an old general ledger. I can see information. I've got a feeling this is an old sort of an example exchequer scenario here. But we've worked with Sage, with Xero, with Access, and with Open Account. So we've done all different formats of bringing through this archive data. So even though you're in your new system, you can still go through, you can still drill down, you can still look at those transactions and look at that. These are journals in this scenario, but you get the idea. You can just drill down to underlying transactions themselves. So yeah.
And that's with the existing chart of accounts as well, Paul.
So you don't have to. So that's their existing chart of accounts. So you don't have to reformat all of the old data.
Great, perfect. Okay, thanks, Paul. There's no other questions come through. Hopefully, Robert, I got your response. We can maybe kind of just pick up on that after the call. Simon, I say hopefully your answer or your question was answered during the presentation, but again we can pick up on that afterwards. There's no other questions coming through. I think Paul, you did tremendously well getting through so much information and so much detail in such a short time. As I said at the start of the session, it was very much a kind of tickling the surface and looking at how powerful the system can be, but be happy to arrange a more in-depth session with anyone should they wish that, and we can follow up on that after the webinars. But I think it's coming up for 25 now. We can call it a day there. I'd just like to thank you all for joining the session. I hope you found it of use. Any questions at all, myself and Ewan, our contact details are on the screen. Many of you will have them anyway. Please feel free to get in touch with any questions at all, or if we could, arrange another session, another chat. But more importantly, Paul, thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciate spending the last 35 minutes with us to show us iplicit, and we will hopefully catch up with everyone soon. But
thank you all for your time and for listening.
Thanks again.